everyone, so I've been making hair clips probably since the age of 13 or so. The reason why I got into making hair clips is because I've always enjoyed having a hair clip in my hair, whether it was a flower or a bow. It's just become a signature look of mine, and I just also really love how it brings together an outfit. And another reason why I started making my own hair clips is because hair clips can be on a pricier side and I couldn't afford them growing up. So what I started doing was I started making them myself by just using material I had at home, or I'd go to like the 99-cent store or the Dollar Tree and I'd buy different flowers, I mix and match them, or I'd even hand paint them in order to have them match my different outfits, whether it was like a color combination of an outfit or a print or pattern of an outfit. And I still do that to this day. I still make hair clips. I just really enjoy it. It's just become a hobby of mine, and I love having that freedom of being able to just customize a hair clip. And what I actually ended up doing was the day before Dapper Day. I know it was very last minute, but I was looking over my Haunted Mansion Sally Slater inspired Disney Bound, and if you'd like to see how I made like the different aspects of that outfit, I will leave the links in the description below. But I was looking over the skirt that I had also DIY'd, and I will have that in the upcoming tutorial. But in Sally Slater's skirt, she has this really pretty green and pink floral print in it, and I decided to recreate that flower into a hair clip. So if you'd like to see how I DIY'd that hair clip, stay tuned.
First I grabbed some sunflower and daisy heads. I've had these for a while, but I'd gotten them over at the 99. You could get them wherever you want, Dollar Tree, Walmart, Michael's, wherever. And then you're going to want to take the center of the flowers out, because we're actually going to paint the flowers. Now as far as the color goes, it doesn't matter, because again, we're just going to paint them. After separating each layer of the flower, I put it down on a plastic bag, and I took green fabric paint. The color I used was leaf green, and put a good glob of it in the middle. You're then going to want to paint starting from the center, painting outwards. The reason why is because the center is going to actually be covered up later on, and it helps to minimize any signs of brush strokes, and it's also just easier that way as well. Another thing is once you start to paint, you'll notice that the flower is going to start to adhere to the plastic bag, but that actually comes in handy because once it's sealed into the bag while you're painting, it's not going to be moving around as much. And it's another reason why I use a plastic bag is because it's easy to remove the flower once the paint has started to set. So once your first coat of paint is completed, you're going to want to move on to the next flower and then the last one after that. The reason why I do that instead of waiting for the first flower to dry and then repainting it repeatedly is because it becomes really time consuming and it just eats up a lot of your time. I found that it's a lot quicker of a process if you paint the others while you wait for the first to dry, and this way, once you're done with the other two, the first one will be dry and set and you'll be able to start the next coat of paint on that one. So it just really makes the process go a lot smoother and it makes it easier on yourself. Another trick I like to use is I will dab the paint in the center of the flower to help the flower to adhere to the bag. That way it's not shifting around while you're painting. Another thing while you're painting, be sure to not have any of the layers of flower overlapping, because when it goes to dry they will actually stick to each other and that will make it very difficult to peel apart. So again, you're just going to want to make sure that they have some sort of separation from each other. So unfortunately my camera had cut out, but what you're going to want to do is once the first coat of paint is completed on your different layers of the flower, you'll want to go back in and paint the second coat of paint, again starting with the first layer of flower that you painted and continuing it from there like you did the first time around. One thing to note with painting the different layers of the flower, what's going to happen is it really acts like a sealant, and it also changes the texture of it. It becomes like a pleather-like texture, but it's not a bad thing at all actually. I noticed that it helps to make my hair clips last longer. I then took a hard plastic leftover flower center from a previous hair clip, and I took some pink paint. The shade is Azalea. I grabbed another paintbrush and I just really started to dab that paint into the flower center as much as possible, really trying to get into those nooks and crannies because this flower center is very, very textured. It has a lot of like bumps and craters in it, and I just also grabbed it by the stem of the flower center in order to just make the painting process a lot easier. And what you're going to want to do is just slowly peel it off the plastic bag, and when you're done it will look like this once it's all dried. And another thing you'd want to do is, if any of the flower petals have stuck together, you just want to gently pull them apart from each other. But if you have any issues with that as well, you could always just use scissors and just cut where that excess paint is at, separating the petals. This part's optional, but what I like to do is I like to flip over the layers of the flowers and paint one more coat of paint on the back. The reason why I like to do that is, as you could see, that the color is still showing through the back of it, and when you go to glue the different layers together and the clip on the back, sometimes that will show through, so it just helps to really seal in the color as a whole on the front and back of the flower. Next, you want to grab a scrap piece of felt. I just had this peach colored one lying about because this was a last minute make, but if you have something that is the same shade or similar color to the flower that you're going to use it for, it's preferable. But if not, if you're like me and doing a last minute craft, you could just use the same paint that you painted the flower with and use that to paint the felt as well. I just went in, I just really dabbed that paint in there because felt's actually really difficult to paint, but I really wanted to just have that consistency with the coloring, because once you add the alligator clip on the back, you'll want it to blend in as much as possible. Now that the flower center has fully dried, what you're going to want to do is flip it over and get a pair of scissors or pliers and cut the stem down as close as possible, leaving a flat surface for when we go to glue it down. I took that pink center we had just finished and a small white daisy from earlier and my hot glue gun, and I applied a good dab of hot glue in the center of the white daisy in order to attach that pink center to the middle, and that's going to create the focal point of your hair clip. Be sure to press firmly on the center of the flower to firmly adhere the flower to the flower center. This way it really creates a seal and it will prevent it from falling out later on when you go to use the hair clip. Just be very careful while using a hot glue gun because they do tend to get pretty hot, even the glue itself, and you could burn your fingers. And if there's any little hot glue strands, you could always just pull them off. They're very easy to remove. I then took my felt scrap, now that is fully dried, and I put the alligator clip through it, and from there I went ahead and trimmed it down to the length and width needed. I gave it about 1.5 inches because my alligator clip wasn't too wide and it's not too long of a clip either, and I went in and I just kind of evened it out a bit. Be sure to leave enough clearance on each side because you're going to want to glue that down to firmly secure the alligator clip because it will be open and closed in order to put it in your hair. So as the cool kids would say, I decided to be extra by paying extra attention to detail. If you look at Sally Slater's skirt, she has this floral print, and the flowers in her floral print have only 12 petals each. So what I ended up doing was I folded the flower layers in half one way and in half across. Not only does the paint work as a sealant, but it also kind of works as somewhat of an adhesive, and it helps when you're folding it, it helps the flower petals to adhere to themselves. And it's better to fold it than to cut out the petals, because if you cut out the petals, it just leaves bald spots. Make sure the petals that you're folding on top of each other adhere to each other, because you're going to want it to look like one petal and not two, to better give that illusion of it just being a flower that wasn't folded. And as well, we are going to still glue this down because it's only a temporary fix. Folding it into itself, it won't stay there permanently unless it's glued down with some hot glue. Once you're done folding the flower layer, what you're going to do is you're going to take that center that we had made earlier, and you are going to glue that using a pretty good glob of hot glue down in the center, and you're going to use that in order to attach the center that we had made on top of that flower. Once you have the center centered on the green flower layer that we had folded in half, just be sure to press firmly in the middle, really adhering the parts together. That way, when you go to use the hair clip and you're clipping it in and out of your hair, it's gonna stay permanently and it's not gonna come undone. So you're going to want to go ahead and take the other flower layer and fold it in half twice again like we did earlier, and then applying a big dab of hot glue, and then we're going to take the part that we had just finished gluing together, we're going to layer it on top, matching the petals as closely as possible, so that way it looks like just one flower. Next, you're going to want to just flip the flower over and apply a pretty thick line of hot glue, and then we're going to take the alligator clip that we had clipped over the felt that we had made earlier and firmly press the alligator clip down onto that hot glue in order to adhere it. And you're also going to want to just pinch down with your fingers, applying pressure on either side of the alligator clip to help to start to adhere that felt to the flower. I also went in and I kind of trimmed the top of the felt a little bit because you don't want it too long to where it's going to be showing like on the outside of the hair clip. When you go to clip it in your hair, you want it to be as invisible as possible. So what you just want to do is just trim it down as the length you need it, and then you're gonna just go back in with the hot glue and fill in all the spots that need to be glued down a little bit more, and just really trying to seal that felt in onto the flower and therefore sealing in the alligator clip. Feel free to go back in and remove any of those little hot glue strands that are left over. But besides that, when you're done, the hair clip should look something like this, and you should be able to easily open and close the alligator clip without any issues. You might want to let it set overnight so it could fully dry, but besides that, it's all done.
If you liked that video, be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons for future uploads. Thanks for watching.
And forevermore.